Michael was 55 years old when he first realized how quiet his marriage had become. Not broken, not dramatic, just quiet. He worked as a handyman, the kind of guy everyone in the apartment complex knew. If something squeaked, leaked, or stopped working, Michael could fix it. He liked that about himself. Being useful. Being needed. There was something honest about fixing things. You could see the problem, identify the solution, and make it work again. If only relationships were that simple. Susan, his wife, was 53. A nurse at Mary's Hospital. Long shifts, 12 hours on her feet. Sometimes more. She came home smelling like hand sanitizer and exhaustion, her scrubs wrinkled, her eyes distant. The kind of tired that sleep couldn't fix. They had been married for 27 years. Their evenings looked the same. Dinner usually something quick, microwaved, eaten in front of the TV. The TV always on, filling the silence. Phones in their hands, scrolling. Short conversations about bills, schedules, groceries. Did you pay the electric? Yeah. We need milk. I'll get it tomorrow. No fights. No shouting. No passion either. Just life. Michael couldn't remember the last time they'd had a real conversation. The kind where you look at each other. Where you actually listen instead of just waiting for your turn to talk. He couldn't remember the last time Susan had laughed at one of his jokes. He couldn't remember the last time he'd tried to make her laugh. The first pie, it started on a Tuesday in October. Michael came home tired, keys still in his hand, shoulder itching from installing ceiling fans all day, when he smelled something warm and sweet in the hallway. Cinnamon. Apples. Brown sugar. The smell of someone's grandmother's kitchen. The door across from theirs opened. Ellie. She was 45, recently divorced, new to the building. Quiet smile. A little nervous. Holding a glass pie dish with a towel underneath, steam still rising from the latticed crust. Hey, Michael, she said, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. I baked way too much. Thought you might want some. He hesitated. Just a second. Something about accepting felt intimate. But saying no felt rude. Oh, sure. Thanks. She smiled, relieved, like she'd been worried he'd refuse. Sorry. I hope it's okay. I'm still learning my way around here. Thought it might be a nice way to introduce myself properly. Yeah, of course. That's really nice of you. Her hands trembled slightly as she handed him the dish. Their fingers didn't touch, but he noticed how careful she was about that. Let me know if it's any good, she said. I'm trying to get back into baking. Used to do it all the time before. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. That night, Susan noticed the pie on the counter. Where did that come from? Ellie, the neighbor. Susan nodded, barely looking up from her phone. That was nice of her. And that was it. Michael cut 2 slices. The pie was perfect: tart apples, sweet glaze, buttery crust that flaked apart. He and Susan ate in silence, the two playing some crime show neither of them really watched. Susan finished her slice, rinsed her plate, and went to bed early. Michael sat alone, finishing his piece, wondering why something as simple as homemade pie felt like such a luxury. Small favors. A week later, Emily knocked again. It was early evening. Susan was still at work a double shift. Michael had just gotten home, hadn't even taken off his work boots. "Sorry to bother you," Emily said, eyes down, apologetic. "My sink won't stop dripping. I tried tightening everything I could find, but I think I made it worse." Michael sighed, but not in an annoyed way. In a "this is what I do" way. "I'll take a look." Her apartment smelled like vanilla candles and fresh laundry. Everything was neat. Too neat. The kind of clean that happens when you're trying to prove something to yourself. That you're okay. That you've got it together. The sink was an easy fix. Worn-out washer. 5-minute job. But then Emily offered him coffee. "If you have time," she added quickly. "I know you probably want to get home." He should have said no. But Susan wasn't home. And the apartment across the hall felt warm. And Emily was looking at him like his answer mattered. "Sure. Just one cup." They talked about the building. The landlord. The weird family on the 3rd floor that always argued in the stairwell. Michael made her laugh. He'd forgotten what that felt like. Making someone laugh. Seeing them light up because of something he said. 5 minutes turned into 20. Then came the door that wouldn't close properly. A loose cabinet handle. A flickering light in the bathroom. A stuck window. A shelf that needed mounting. Each time, Emily apologized. Each time, Michael helped. "You're a lifesaver," she said after he fixed her garbage disposal. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Michael waved it off, but something warm settled in his chest. Susan noticed the pattern. "She sure needs a lot of help," she said one night, not looking up from her laptop where she was updating patient charts. Michael laughed. "She's just not used to doing things alone. Her ex did everything. Now she's learning." Susan didn't laugh. She kept typing, jaw tight. "Just be careful," she said quietly. Careful of what? Of being someone's hero. Michael felt a flash of anger. "I'm just being a decent neighbor." "Okay." That single word sat between them like a wall. The shift. The conversations changed slowly. At first, Emily talked about practical things. Then about work. She was a graphic designer, freelance, working from home. "Lonely work," she said. "You could go days without talking to anyone." Then about her divorce. "I wasted 12 years with someone who didn't even see me," she said once, standing in the hallway after Michael had fixed her thermostat. He was there, physically. But not really. "You know." Michael listened. He didn't interrupt. Didn't try to fix it. Didn't offer hollow advice. He just listened. That felt good. At home, Susan came back exhausted, mind still at the hospital. When Michael tried to talk, she nodded, half-present, eyes glazed over. How was your day? Long. Anything interesting happen? Not really. That was the extent of it. Emily, on the other hand, looked at him when he spoke. She asked follow-up questions. She remembered things he'd mentioned weeks ago. How did that job at the Hendersons go? Did they end up going with the cedar or the pine? Michael was surprised she remembered. Cedar. Looked great. I bet. You're really talented, you know that. He felt his face warm. Just fixing things. Nothing special. It is special, she said seriously. You solve problems. You make people's lives easier. That matters. You're such a good man, she said another time. You don't know how rare that is. Michael smiled. He didn't tell Susan about that comment. He didn't think it mattered. But he thought about it that night. And the next day. And the day after that. Boundaries fade quietly. Michael started staying out longer. Just helping Emily for a minute, he'd say, grabbing his toolbox. 10 minutes became 30. 30 became an hour. He started texting her. Nothing inappropriate. Just got that part for your cabinet. I can swing by tomorrow if you're around. Or saw this article about design trends. Thought you might like it. Small things. Innocent things. Susan watched him put on his shoes again one Saturday morning. Where are you going? Emily's dryer is making a weird noise. Something tight formed in her chest. You're spending a lot of time over there. Michael tied his laces, not looking at her. I'm just helping. I don't like this, she finally said. Michael frowned, standing up. Like what? How involved you are. How much time you spend with her. He laughed, but it came out sharp. You're overthinking this. She's just lonely. I'm being a good neighbor. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? There's being a good neighbor, Susan said slowly, and there's being someone's emotional support system. Oh, come on. I'm serious, Michael. So you're making something out of nothing. Susan's mouth pressed into a thin line. She went quiet. That was worse than arguing. Michael grabbed his toolbox and left. But the words followed him across the hall. The creep of intimacy. Emily started opening up more. About her ex-husband. About how he'd had an affair. How she'd blamed herself for years. I thought if I was better. Thinner. Funner. More interesting. Then he'd stay. Michael felt anger rise in his chest, not at her, but for her. That's not on you. That's on him. Emily's eyes filled with tears. You're the only one who listens, she said. Everyone else just says you're better off or time heals. But you actually hear me. Michael didn't know what to say. So he just sat with her. There, on her couch, with 2 feet of careful distance between them. He texted Susan, running late. Emily needed help with something. Be home soon. Susan didn't reply. When he got home, she was already in bed, the lights off, facing away from his side. Susan. No answer. He stood in the doorway, toolbox still in hand, feeling like a stranger in his own home. The night everything changed. Susan came home late one evening after a brutal shift. A patent had coded. They'd lost them. A kid, 17 years old. Motorcycle accident. Her feet hurt. Her head throbbed. Her soul felt scraped raw. All she wanted was to collapse into Michael's arms and cry. As she reached for the door, she heard voices in the hallway. Michael's. Emily's. She stopped, key halfway to the lock. Emily was crying. "I'm sorry," Emily said, voice thick. "I shouldn't keep dumping all of this on you." "It's okay," Michael said. "Really?" "No, it's not. You've got your own life. Your own marriage. I'm a mess." A pause. "You're not a mess," Michael said gently. "You're healing. You're the only one who listens," Emily said again. "You make me feel safe. Like I'm not crazy. Like I matter." Michael didn't pull away. He didn't say, "This isn't appropriate." He didn't say, "My wife is about to walk through that door." He didn't stop it. Susan stood there, keys shaking in her hand. She didn't hear flirting. She didn't hear desire. She heard something worse. Replacement. She heard her husband giving another woman the emotional space that used to belong to her. She unlocked the door and walked inside. Michael came in 5 minutes later. Susan was sitting at the kitchen table, still in her scrubs, hands folded in front of her. "Hey," he said, too casually. "Row shift. Yes." Silence. "Susan, don't." Her voice was quiet. Controlled. That's how Michael knew it was bad. The confrontation. They sat across from each other at the kitchen table. No yelling. No dishes thrown. Just two people staring at the crater forming in the middle of their marriage. "You're emotionally married to someone else," Susan said quietly. Michael shook his head, but his denial felt weak even to himself. "That's not fair. Isn't it? I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't touched her. I haven't." "You've given her everything but your body," Susan interrupted. "Your time. Your attention. Your emotional energy. The parts of you I used to get." "That's not. When's the last time we talked?" "Really talked?" Michael opened his mouth. Closed it. He couldn't remember. "I didn't plan this," he finally said, voice cracking. "I didn't even notice it happening." "That's how it happens," Susan replied, eyes red but dry. "Not with sex. With attention. With little conversations that feel harmless. With someone who listens when you talk. Who appreciates you. Who makes you feel seen." Her voice broke on the last word. Michael felt sick. For the first time, he saw it clearly. Emily wasn't the villain. Neither was Susan. Neither was he. But somewhere along the way, he'd let someone else become his person. And Susan had been left alone. "I miss you," Susan whispered. "I miss my husband." Michael's chest tightened. "I'm right here." "No, you're not. You haven't been for months." "The choice." They talked until morning. No accusations. No excuses. Just truth. Painful, jagged, necessary truth. I don't know how we got here, Michael said as dawn broke through the kitchen window. I do, Susan replied. We stopped trying. Both of us. I come home too tired to talk. You found someone who wasn't tired. We stopped being each other's first call. I'm sorry. I'm sorry too. They sat in the gray morning light, two people who'd loved each other for 27 years, trying to figure out if there was anything left to save. What do we do? Michael asked. Susan took a shaky breath. You need to end it with Emily. Not the neighborly stuff. The emotional affair. The words stung, but they were true. And then we decide if we still want this. Each other. Us. Michael went to Emily the next day. It was the hardest conversation he'd ever had. I can't do this anymore, he said gently, standing in her doorway, not going inside. I crossed a line I didn't see. And I need to step back. Emily nodded, tears streaming down her face. She cried. She understood. Somehow, that made it harder. I'm sorry, she said. I never mean to. I know. Neither did I. Will you be okay? She asked. Michael thought about Susan sitting at home, waiting. I hope so. The move. Susan made the suggestion 2 weeks later. We need distance, she said. Not punishment. Protection. Too many memories here. Too much proximity. They moved 3 months later. New apartment. New neighborhood. New routines. It wasn't easy. Some days Michael wanted to text Emily just to see if she was okay. He didn't. Some days Susan wondered if Michael resented her for making them move. She asked him, "Do you hate me for this?" "No," he said honestly. "I hate that it was necessary. But I don't hate you." They started talking again. Slowly, awkwardly. They set aside time each evening. No phones. Just them. At first, the conversations were stilted. How was work? Good. Busy. You seem. But gradually, they remembered how to talk. How to laugh. How to be present. No romance at first. Just honesty. But honesty was a start. Ending reflection. Michael understood something he'd never learned before. Most marriages don't end because of passion. They end because someone else quietly takes the emotional seat that belonged to the spouse. And by the time you notice, when you finally see that you've been feeding someone else's soul while your own marriage starves, you're already too close to the edge. The fall happens slowly. Then, all at once, he and Susan were still rebuilding. Some days were good. Some days were hard. But they were trying. That had to count for something. Practice the boundary map. Take a piece of paper and write down who you talk to when you're tired, who hears your complaints, who makes you feel understood. Then ask yourself one question. Is this inside or outside my marriage? Boundaries aren't walls. They're promises you keep when no one is watching. They're the space you protect for the person you chose. And sometimes the most dangerous betrayal isn't the one that happens in a bed. It's the one that happens in a hallway, over coffee, with someone who listens,